As a leader, you rather surround yourself with people who make mistakes and have no problem with admitting to them than surrounding yourself with people who think they make none. Coming up, Ebrahim Rasool, our former ambassador to USA, who recently been expelled by Trump administration, has touched down on South African soil on Heroes Welcome in Cape Town International.
Several groups, including the ANC, COSATU, and the Muslim Judicial Council, have pledged to welcome outgoing South African ambassador to the US, Ebrahim Rasool.
Ebrahim Rasool, there is Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool. He has effectively arrived in the country. We are going to go and try and doorstop him as he arrives. Ambassador Rasool, how are you feeling being back in the country?
We are blocking the path here, but let us greet our family and then we'll speak to you.
Thank you, Ambassador Rasool.
And after final touchdown, this is what he said as he addressed the crowd and the media at the airport.
Amandla, good morning, Molweni, Assalamu alaikum, Goeiemorgen. Rosieda and I have just traveled about 32 hours from the United States via Doha to Cape Town. It was not our choice to come home, but we come home with no regrets. I want to say that we would have liked to come back with a welcome like this if we could report to you that we had turned away the lies of a white genocide in South Africa, but we did not succeed in America with that. We would have preferred to come here to say that we have won for you a goer, but we could not win it by withdrawing our case from the International Court of Justice against Israel, because as we stand here, the bombing has continued and the shooting has continued, and if South Africa was not in the ICJ, Israel would not be exposed and the Palestinians would have no hope.
Yes.
We would have preferred to come here and say that we have won for you trade deals and that we have been able to secure for us trade deals, but we could not do so by allowing the US to choose who must be our friends and who must be our enemies. So we don't come here to say that we are anti-American or that we have no need for America or that we don't have ties with America. We come here even after being declared persona non grata. We still come here and say we must rebuild and we must reset the relationship with America, because our relationship with America over 50 years has not always been with the White House. It has sometimes been with Congress, and it has always been with the people of the United States of America. When the White House and Congress declared us as terrorists, it was the dock workers in San Francisco that refused to touch South African goods. When Congress did not want to have sanctions, it was the American people who did not eat our fruit and did not touch our goods. And so we have this relationship that we must reset and we must rebuild. And we must hope that President Cyril Ramaphosa will be able to pick up where we left off. But we cannot have a simplistic idea that while we say there must be an ambassador, that you must put a white ambassador for a white president in the United States. And so, many people have said, what is diplomacy? We tried the conventional diplomacy and tried to avoid discussions about the genocide. We tried the conventional diplomacy and said that we must pretend that there is no merit in the idea, or that there's merit in the idea of land confiscations. We could not ignore that. And so we had to go to what is the diplomacy of Ubuntu, the diplomacy of mutual interdependence, that I am because you are. The diplomacy of Ubuntu is not the art of lying for your country.
That's true.
It is the art of speaking the truth, but gently. The diplomacy of Ubuntu is not flattering your host, and the diplomacy of Ubuntu is not denying what is wrong.
You know what, guys? I may totally agree with Ebrahim Rasool. I agree with most of the things that he's saying. I mean, we all know Trump and how he perceives us as South Africans. But the question remains, what were you in America for? You were there in America as our foreign diplomat. You were there for a diplomatic mission, one of which is to strengthen the relationship between South Africa and America. You know, negotiating our trade deals with USA. Those are all things that you were there. You were not there as a politician. As correct as you are about Trump, we all know him, okay? You shifted from your diplomatic mission, now you got into the politics. And some of us in South Africa will never agree with that, because you return prematurely without having executed and done what you were sent there for. And you admit it yourself. And even worse, you did that without consulting with your president to check on him, check his position pertaining the USA. You just started shooting and saying all those right things, but at the wrong time and in a wrong place. There is no president that can allow insult from the foreign envoy and just keep quiet. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. Guys, whether we like it or not, Rasool went total opposite direction with Cyril. Cyril is mending and building the relationship with the USA, and Rasool is breaking it. And that is not what foreign diplomacy is all about. That's not what foreign diplomats do. In fact, Rasool went total opposite from what foreign diplomats do. You cannot behave like that and still claim to be an ambassador of a country. It doesn't work like that, guys. And if you are not peddling the same direction with your president as a foreign diplomat, which country are you representing? Because you're supposed to be peddling the same direction with your president, of which this is not what Rasool did.
Ebrahim Rasool will be coming back soon, as the U.S. State Department has ruled that he is no longer acceptable in the U.S. and he's going to come back and give me a full report. So I will wait for a full report from him. But at the same time, we have noted the displeasure that has been expressed by the United States, particularly about the remarks he made. And we have noted that, and we will engage with them as we are already engaging with them. And engagement with them continues, and it's going to take a variety of forms. It's going to be through envoys, it's going to be through people either from the business community, labor, and a whole number of others also from government. Improving our relationship with the United States of America is a priority for us. They are our trading partner, second largest trading partner after China. We're not being blue-ticked. We are engaging. If blue-ticking means, as I understand it, used by young people, that we are being ignored. We are not being ignored. We are continuing to engage with them. And as it is now, a great deal of progress had been made by our ambassador in straightening out the path to ensure that there is meaningful engagement at the diplomatic level. So this is a hiccup that we are working on straightening out. So we are not being blue-ticked. We cannot be blue-ticked because we are such an important player to the United States of America as they are an important player to South Africa.
You're supposed to speak the same language with your president. And of course, the buzz today has been, now that Ebrahim Rasool has returned back to the country, who is going to replace him in the US? And Helen Zille didn't waste time to suggest the name.
As the country awaits the return of the former South African ambassador to the United States, Ebrahim Rasool, the DA has weighed in on his possible replacement. Zille is touting their former leader to take up the position.
Well, if I had to choose, I would choose somebody like Tony Leon. I think he would be absolutely excellent. He's been a very, very good ambassador before in Argentina. I think that he has all the skills at a very top level. He's a very good intellectual. He reads very widely. He understands foreign policy. That's the caliber of person that you need.
Weighing in on the DA's delegation that travelled to the US 2 weeks ago, Zille says representatives of the party met with Marco Rubio, the United States Secretary of State, and engaged on how to fix relations between the two countries, adding that the DA has tried to build bridges through that visit.
Well, they cut off aid before the DA went there. So we were basically saying to them, don't punish the people. If you don't like the ANC, don't punish the people of South Africa. We're a great nation of many people, and we've appreciated your support for PEPFAR, for USAID, for all of the stuff that you've done. So that was one of our key messages. Ebrahim Rasool was an ambassador. He said things that no ambassador should ever say about their host country and their host president. And so he was asking for trouble. He's also a very well-known supporter of Hamas. And of course, we know exactly where Trump stands on the questions in the Middle East. So I suppose Durka and the South African government was deliberately poking the bear, and they got that reaction. And we just know that when you put an ambassador into a country as important as the United States of America, your choice is very, very important.
Now, guys, look at what Helen Zille is doing. Please listen attentively. Some of you who watch my videos, you will remember that currently in South Africa, we don't have an American ambassador. Okay? And in USA, Trump is busy electing the person or the guy who will be an ambassador in South Africa representing USA. So one of the names that Trump has suggested is of a guy by the name of Joel Pollak. Joel Pollak. Now, who is Joel Pollak, guys? Joel Pollak is a South African-born lawyer, and a former speech writer for who? For Tony Leon. A former speech writer for Tony Leon. On the other hand, Helen Zille is suggesting who? Tony Leon to be our ambassador to the US. And on the other side, Trump on his list is suggesting Joel Pollak to be a US ambassador where? In South Africa. And that means if everything goes according to Helen Zille's plan, if Tony Leon becomes our ambassador in USA and Joel Pollak become the US ambassador in South Africa, remember that Pollak guy is a former DA, he's pro-DA guy, okay? So if all that goes according to plan, that means that DA now has got the power to influence Trump, that he sees South Africa according to what DA is saying. And not only that, but DA will also have power to push their narratives against Cyril and South Africa as a whole. Of course, with Trump in their back, supporting them. And of course, some South Africans, including EFF, said, nope, there is no Joel Pollak who will land here in South Africa. We don't want him. He's a white supremacist, and we don't want him in South Africa. Those were Malima's words, or EFF's words.
Now, the man who fancies himself as the next U.S. ambassador to South Africa, Joel Pollak, says if South Africa rejects his nomination, it will be at its peril. Pollak is poised to be U.S. President Donald Trump's favorite to represent the U.S. in South Africa. But many have suggested that South Africa should not accept his nomination after South African ambassador to the U.S., Ebrahim Rasool, was expelled from that country. While it is unclear when Trump will send a permanent representative, Pollak says for South Africa to have healthy relations with the U.S., it must be willing to compromise on its policies. Newsroom Africa's Kanita Hunter has more.
Joel Pollak is known to be a harsh critic of South Africa's transformation policies and has been vocal in calling for targeted sanctions against President Cyril Ramaphosa and other ANC politicians. The South African-born American conservative commentator wants to be the next U.S. ambassador to South Africa. But some have suggested that South Africa reject his nomination in retaliation for the U.S. decision to expel South African ambassador to Washington, Ebrahim Rasool. Pollak, who does not have any diplomatic experience, says he is the best option to restore relations between the U.S. and South Africa.
South Africa decides that they don't want me, that's fine. I would just offer one word of warning. Anyone else the president is likely to select is going to be nastier than me. I think that I have a knowledge of South Africa, a background from South Africa, and a love of South Africa that I don't know is widely shared among other possible candidates.
The Breitbart commentator says South Africa will have to make compromises if it wants to have healthy ties with the US. Key on the list is South Africa giving up its transformation policies, like BEE.
There are so many things that South Africa and the United States can do together, but there have to be compromises, and South Africa has to come to the table. It's fairly clear what they are. South Africa has to amend or limit the Expropriation Act.
Pollak says South Africa will have to overhaul its foreign policy if it wants a constructive relationship with the US. That includes rethinking its genocide case against Israel at the ICJ and reconsidering its relationship with Iran.
Yeah. What do you think? Let me hear on your comment below there. What do you think about Ebrahim Rasool's replacement? And of course, Helen Zille suggesting Tony Leon to be Ebrahim Rasool's replacement. And of course, if you are coming for the first time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.